Welcome everyone, join us today as we dive into the life of the Shangri-Las lead singer Mary Weiss, the frontwoman of the iconic girl group of the 1960s. So let's dive in. Mary Louise Weiss, born December 28, 1948 in New York City, United States of America. She was zodiac sign Capricorn. Mary was born in the Cambria Heights district of Queens, New York, as the youngest of 3 children. She had an older sister Betty, and an older brother George. Raised in a Jewish family, Mary's father, a telephone company worker, passed away when she was just 6 weeks old, leaving her mother Elizabeth to raise the family on welfare. Describing her childhood as fairly rotten, Mary attended Catholic school and later Andrew Jackson High School. She developed her love for music by singing in school plays and choirs, and was influenced by her brother, an Elvis fan, and his friends who would perform popular songs. At Andrew Jackson High, 15-year-old Mary and her older sister Betty became friends with 16-year-old twins Mary Ann and Marge Garza and teamed up to form a singing group. Performing at nightclubs and talent shows, they caught the attention of Artie Rip, who secured their first record deal with Kama Sutra. Their first recording in December 1963 was Simon Says, followed by Wishing Well and Hate to Say I Told You So, released in early 1964. Initially unnamed, the group began calling themselves the Shangri-Las after a Queens restaurant. Mary became the main lead singer, with Betty and Mary Ann also taking leads on various tracks. In April 1964, while still minors, the Shangri-Las parents signed them with Redbird Records. Mary was 15, Betty 17, and the Garza twins 16. Under producer George Shadow Morton, they had their first hit with Remember Walking in the Sand, US number 5 and UK number 14. Billy Joel, then an unknown session musician, played on the 7-minute demo, which was later trimmed to 2:16 for radio. Morton's debut songwriting showcased his talent, with its haunting piano, lush harmonies, and seagull sound effects. Despite his unpredictability, Mary praised him as brilliant. Later in 1980, she would provide uncredited backing vocals on Aerosmith's cover of the song. After the sudden success of Remember, the Shangri-Las were asked to make personal appearances, forcing them to leave high school. Mary continued her education at a school for young professionals in Manhattan. The group followed up with their biggest hit, Leader of the Pack, their only US number 1. Co-written by Morton, Jeff Barry, and Ellie Greenwich, the song's iconic opening line, "Is she really going out with him?" led into a mini-opera about Betty's doomed romance with Jimmy, a motorcycle gang leader. Despite radio bans, it reached number 11 in the UK and was later featured in Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas. Give Him a Great Big Kiss gave the Shangri-Las another top 20 hit in 1964, making them a major attraction. They shared the stage with the Beatles, toured with the Rolling Stones, and even joined a food fight at Dusty Springfield's apartment during a UK visit. James Brown, who hired him for a show in Texas, was surprised to find out the group wasn't black, as he had assumed. During that same show, Mary had an altercation with a police officer who pulled a gun on her when she mistakenly entered a washroom reserved for black women. Life on the road was tough, especially on grueling tours like Dick Clark's Caravan of Stars. But as street-smart New Yorkers, the Shangri-Las were better prepared than most. Ellie Greenwich described them as kind of crude, with their gum-chewing, ripped stockings, and bold gestures. After an intruder tried to break into her hotel room, Mary bought a Derringer pistol for protection, but later turned it over to authorities after an FBI warning. The Shangri-Las continued to chart with moderately successful US hits, appearing on various TV shows and touring the country. However, by 1966, 2 of their 3 Red Bird releases failed to break into the US top 50, though they remained popular in England and Japan. Mary Ann Garza briefly left the group, returning in early 1967, after Marge, the outspoken member, often considered the leader, departed. Redbird Records had folded, and though they signed with Mercury Records and recorded new tracks with Shadow Morton, some unreleased, the label showed little enthusiasm. Morton himself had shifted focus to other artists like Janis Ian and Vanilla Fudge. During their time with Mercury, the group did not produce any further hits, and in 1968, they disbanded amid ongoing litigation, partly due to unfavorable contracts signed early in their careers. The legal battles made it difficult for them to transition into new opportunities in the music industry for at least 10 years. Following their disbandment, the members stepped away from the public eye, with the group reportedly frustrated by a lack of royalties despite the millions of records they had sold. Mary relocated to New York's Greenwich Village before moving to San Francisco. A few years later, she returned to Manhattan, where she worked as a secretary while taking college courses. She transitioned into the architectural field, working in the accounting department of a New York architectural firm, eventually becoming the chief purchasing agent, and later managing a commercial furniture dealership. In 1977, the Shangri-Las briefly reunited to record for Sire Records, though they decided not to release the material. By the late 1980s, Mary was managing a furniture store and working as an interior designer. The group reunited for a final performance at the Meadowlands Arena in 1989. By 2001, Mary was working as a furniture consultant in New York and was in downtown Manhattan during the 9/11 attacks. In 2005, she left her career in commercial interiors to return to music, releasing her solo album Dangerous Game in 2007 after nearly 2 decades away from singing. The album, released by Norton Records, was well received, with backing by the Reigning Sound. Personally, Mary married for the first time in 1974, but the marriage ended in 1988. She remarried a few years later, with her second husband managing her music career until they eventually divorced. Her third and final marriage was to Ed Ryan, up until the time of her passing. Sadly, on January 19, 2024, Mary passed away at the age of 75 due to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease at her home in Palm Springs, California, leaving her sister Betty as the last surviving member of the Shangri-Las. And there you have it. Thank you for joining us in exploring the life and legacy of Mary Weiss. Her voice and presence in the Shangri-Las helped shape the sound of an era, leaving an indelible mark on music history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of legendary artists. Take care and bye for now.